Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me on this Sunday afternoon. I've just been released from federal custody. It's nice to be out in the free world. My murder conviction was upturned based on a technicality in our federal system. So I'm happy to be back managing Red Tide Enterprises as their CEO, Randall Lundark. That's me. Um, and I just want to, say a brief thank you to all of our stakeholders that are, happy to join us on a Sunday to discuss some of these important financial matters. I know that as investors to our company, you guys have a couple of different questions about how things have been going. So I'm here to kind of address that and, really ensure that we're back on track. And as we'll see later on in this presentation, things are actually going extremely well. You really shouldn't have to worry or look into this ever again. So, with that in mind, let's kind of go ahead and get started, right? So, I threw this together pretty quick. This is just a quick chart. It's a graph. It displays data, right? And as a software company, data is at the backbone of our business model, right? So, with understanding the data, we have a couple of different data points, data elements that we'd like to talk about here today. Let's go ahead and start off with the elephant in the room. That's going to be our expenditures, right? So, we have a couple of different things to look at. Number one, beginning any business is a difficult enterprise, right? It's a tough thing to do. Fortunately, as Red Tide Enterprises CEO, I kind of take on that burden, right? So no one else has to. With that in mind, let's kind of go through it. Um, our expenditures, kind of before we were getting any sort of sales or cash flow or cash stimulus, cash injection, our expenditures were kind of high here. And as we'll see, it kind of kept a steady course going through time being hours, minutes, and seconds, right? But we started to notice around this point our expenditures really started to go down. And the reason for that being we had lots of employees quit en masse. Um, we try to make clear that, as a company, we have to stick things out together. We have to be united on that front. And, you know, looking at our profits and our expenditures, in order to make ends meet, we just couldn't pay you for a few weeks or months. So, with that in mind, a couple of people couldn't take that burden. I was happy to not be paid, but a couple of other people were not. So, what we ended up seeing was sort of a lot of people quitting all over the course of about 3 or 4 months, right? And as we see, things kind of went down, right? Our expenditures, our overhead was not as high. So that's kind of nice to see. Um, now, I'm sure you could kind of picture that morale was an issue, right? How people were feeling, sort of that emotional connection to the company. And unfortunately, it was not great. It was, in fact, pretty bad. So, what we ended up doing was I commissioned a local artist to paint a large portrait of me and hang it on in the lobby. What this allowed people to do was to say, hey, look, that's our CEO, Randall Lundark. He has things under control, and I trust him and I love him. And so when people were able to look at that and see, hey, this guy's really got it under control. I don't have to worry. Our morale went up. That was a good thing. Unfortunately, the commission was fairly expensive. And of course, being the team player that I was, I charged that to the company credit card. So that's kind of the situation we find ourselves in. Now, let's take a look at our profits, right? Not looking great. Um, Not ideal. But as we'll see, if we kind of reframe the issue, things are actually much better than they might appear in this slide. So, kind of keep in mind how things look now and how things will look later. All right, now let's go ahead and move on. Before I do, I'm going to take a quick breather. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to do so. Okay, I'm back off mute. Let's go ahead and move on here a little bit. So, if we take a look at the next slide, if we zoom in, things look a whole lot better, right? So, take a look at this. If we take a look at the line that is the part of the graph, it's at zero, right? This is what our revenue is looking like. This is our profit, right? So if we take a look at that, boom, look at that. We're going up. Up is good, right? I spent 3 or 4 years getting my MBA learning that up is good. Money is good to have. So with that in mind, you know, the more that we zoom in onto our graph, the better things look. And so, as a chief executive officer, that's kind of what I'm here to remind you of. That's what I'm here to emphasize, to stress. Okay. Um, so this is looking pretty decent, right? And if we ignore the other variables, that being our expenditures, this is how business is supposed to be run, okay? We're going from zero to hero, to some number, some variable, some value here that corresponds to this sort of a line, okay? That's a good thing. That's something to keep in mind. All right, now additionally, let's take a look at this. If we think about, our revenue in Zimbabwe dollars, we're actually doing extremely well. Sure, we had sort of a rough start to our fiscal year, starting up here. But if we go here, look at that. The numbers are way higher. We're looking much better. And so, sort of with the highs and lows of the software industry, this is about what we should expect to see. Um, and so, as investors to our company, you need to keep that in mind. You can't be keep sending me emails like, "Hey, Randall, where's my return on investment, my ROI?" This is where it is. We're playing the long game here. We're taking time and expecting things to change over it, right? So, lots of different moving parts, lots of different teams at play. All right. So, with that in mind, I'm going to take a super quick breather once again. If anybody would like to sort of jump in, ask questions, please feel free to do so. Okay, so I'm not hearing a whole lot of questions or concerns or comments. That's good to hear. That's good news. Unfortunately, I can't really stay much longer. I have another meeting as a chief executive officer that I kind of have to attend. So if you'll excuse me, I hope you all have a great rest of your Sunday afternoon. I'd be pleased to talk with you at some later point for maybe a different topic, right? So with that in mind, I'll talk to you later, okay? Unfortunately, I do have to jump. I have a couple of different things I need to be focusing on. So, thank you very much, and I'll talk to you later. Bye bye.